Hello, my name is Sheila and I would like to welcome you to my podcast All About You. I love to listen to podcasts and especially conversations with famous people. However, I think everyone has a story to tell. Maybe a place you have visited, a hobby you enjoy, or anything that you feel would be of interest. I want to have conversations with lots of different people and hear their stories. So if you have a story to tell, please contact me on my email, allaboutyoupodcast@yahoo.com. Welcome to another conversation on the All About You podcast. My guest today is Stephen from Estepona in Spain, but originally from Manchester. And today we are talking about his passion and his love for Manchester United. So Steve, welcome to the All About You podcast.
Thank you, Sheila.
So Steve, how did your love and passion of Manchester United start?
My passion for Manchester United started when I was probably 4 years old, really from my dad. And my dad wasn't a Manchester United fan, he was a Manchester City fan. And you say, how did you become a Manchester United fan? Well, my dad used to take me to amateur football. There used to be a club down the road from where we lived. It was called Abbey Working Men's Club. And they had a very, very good football team, which used to play Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon football. So my dad really taught me about football by taking me to see this Abbey Working Men's Club. And they made me a mascot. A mascot is like a symbol of the football team. So I was their symbol of the football team, a young lad who used to be crazy about football. And that was when I was 4 years old. So I had my heroes in that amateur team. But then you read the papers and then I see things on the TV about these big teams. And for me, Manchester United was always a special name. I knew about the tragedy, about Munich and the way they lost the team and everything. I remember names like George Best, Bobby Charlton, Dennis Law. And for me, these were going to be my heroes. But my dad was a Manchester City fan, don't forget. So he took me to my first game when, I think it must have been 1964-65. And it was Manchester City versus Huddersfield. I remember going to this game with my dad's friend, George Baxendale, he would call. He had a corner shop down the road and he was my dad's best friend. And I remember getting to the ground and all these people going into the ground. And that time you used to have, they called them like a stall, and they used to have rosettes. So you'd have Manchester City rosettes, red and white rosettes from Manchester United, and obviously the team they were playing Huddersfield Town. So George Wellesby, my dad's friend, was from Huddersfield, so he used to support Huddersfield. So he bought a rosette, put his rosette on. My dad bought a rosette, put his blue one on, and he said, "Steve, which one do you want?" Thinking I would pick either the Manchester City one or the Huddersfield one. And I said, "No, Dad, I want the red and white rosette, Manchester United." So my dad said, "Okay, son," put my red and white rosette on, and we went into the ground. Now I can't remember exactly what happened after that, but I remember my dad telling me many years later, "Oh, Steve," everyone was saying, "Why's your son got a red and white rosette?" And everyone laughing and saying, "Oh, go on," ruffling my hair and everything like that. But I think from then on, I was a permanent Manchester United fan, passionate then. Unfortunately, from 64 onwards, my dad never took me to Manchester United, because he supported Manchester City. I do remember when England won the World Cup, because I was round about, I think I was 9. I was nearly 9 then. I remember it was the final, and we lived in Gorton. I even remember the street. It was called Godwin Street. We had a little box telly, black and white, and I sat down, ready to watch the game, and my dad said, "Steve, run down to George's shop and tell him the football's starting." So I said, "Dad, the football started, the World Cup is starting." "No, go and tell George." So I had to run out the door, run down the road, down the other road to where George's shop was. Open the door. "George, the football's starting. Okay, I'll be with you in a minute. But the football's starting. Please, now. So anyway, George came back with us. I had to take him back to my dad's and we watched the football. Then England won the World Cup. It was a year after that my dad took me to Manchester United. The first game I ever went to Old Trafford was Manchester United versus Sheffield United. And for me, it was like being in heaven. Big crowd. We won the game. Dennis Law scored an overhead kick to win the game. And I was presented with my first programme, Manchester United versus Sheffield United. I remember getting home and my dad said to me, Steve, that programme you've got, we need to send it to your cousin in America. They lived in Philadelphia. Dad, this is my only programme. No, I promised him that we'll send this programme. So I had to send this programme to America to my cousin. So that was my first big memory of sort of like having something that I treasured, giving away to someone.
And having to give it up. It's unusual because when you start going to football as a boy, it's generally that team stays in the family. Your dad supported that team, you support that team, and maybe you take your children. So the fact you were supporting different teams, that's quite something.
I think on my dad's side, his sister had round about 7 children. Her husband was a Manchester United fan. His brothers were Manchester United fans. So I think that's how that crept, more into the picture. Because I remember jumping a little bit into 1968 when we won the first European Cup. I remember going to my dad's Auntie Annie's. It was a bit of a surprise really because we'd gone at the night time. Manchester United were in the European Cup second leg, semi-final against Real Madrid. And United, I think, had beaten Real Madrid 1-0 at Old Trafford. So this was the second leg. If United won, they were through to the final. If they lost, they could have been out of the cup. My Auntie Annie had a TV and we watched Manchester United versus Real Madrid. And I remember that. The game ended 3-3 after Manchester United losing at half-time 3-1. And it was absolutely fantastic. United had got to the European Cup final. And then we watched the cup final in my Uncle Tom's house. All the children, I think there was seven children. Me, my Uncle Tom, my dad. It was like Wembley then. Like a big crowd.
A big atmosphere.
Yeah, in a house, just watching the TV. So then I was 10 then. And I remember the next day going down to the shop and buying a newspaper. And I bought the Daily Express. And the Daily Express then was like a broadsheet.
Yeah. So
you opened it up and there was this massive big, here's me, a little boy, opening this massive big sheet of newspaper. And it had Manchester United win the European Cup. So that's really where my passions for Manchester United, went on. And after the European Cup, I didn't really see Manchester United win many trophies for many, many, many years after that. We moved to Denton that year. So we lived in Gorton, and then we moved into Denton, which was probably about 4 miles down the road, out of Manchester. And we moved next door to 3 sisters. And these 3 sisters, they were called Joyce Priest, Ida Priest and Virginia Priest. Joyce was extra special. I used to always talk to Joyce about football, and I'm 10 and 11 now. And she says, Steve, I'll take you to Manchester United. I'll take you to Old Trafford. Your dad doesn't take you to Old Trafford. I'll take you to Old Trafford. So she did. She took me to, one week was Old Trafford. The next week was Main Road, Manchester City. And this went on through the season. And I used to hate the second week because it was at Manchester City. And I had no interest, to watch Manchester City. So I actually said to Joyce, I said, I love seeing Manchester United, but I don't enjoy seeing Manchester City. So, bless her, she stopped taking me to Manchester City. And every other week, she just used to take me to Manchester United. She did that for about 3 years.
Oh my God, that's amazing, because you were still very young at that age.
Yeah. I think the first game I ever went with my friends was, probably would have been about 14 or 15. And then I used to get the bus down to A-Town Street in Manchester and then get the football special with my friends, and we go and see Manchester United.
And how much would you pay for a ticket to go and see football back when you were like 9 or 10 or 11?
I
mean, I have no idea how much you would pay for a single ticket for a game now.
Well, it's expensive now. You're talking of like £25 or something like that. Maybe £2.
Right.
I remember around about 16, when I was 16, I used to have £5, and that would take me the bus, get a drink, get into the ground, get a programme, probably get something on the way home, and I'd probably have change.
Right, so that's not bad compared to what you're paying now, £25 just for the ticket.
Yeah, or more.
Or more, as you say, that's before you buy a coffee, a bag of chips or whatever, your chips and curry sauce or whatever, or Pucky's pies or whatever you have at football these days.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember being about 16. We used to go to Piccadilly Gardens because that's the centre of Manchester. And it's when they used to have all the gardens and it was beautiful. There was a shop opposite. I can't remember this big store. But we used to go in there and we used to go down below, and they used to always have like a takeaway. And I used to get a curry sauce with rice. I used to love that.
Yeah, but I think this is the thing. When you go to football, particularly football in the winter, you want something... A lot of people remember the hot bovril or the hot chocolate. It's often the food and drink you associate with going to the football games because it's so cold and wet. You want like the hot stodge, don't you, to keep you going?
Yeah.
So you were having some kind of rice thingy with curry sauce.
Yeah, that was when we was in Manchester. So we used to then get the football special to the ground. Then when you get in the ground, that's when you'd have the bovril.
And you remember all the food the food and drinks associated with going to the football games.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's part of it.
I also remember, I think this was in my early days, but I used to remember this guy. You know, when you go to the cinema, you get the, what do they call it?
Oh, like the usherettes. You used to have the ice cream and thing, yeah.
We used to have these guys on the ground, you know, so they was like where the pitch was, and they walked round the ground selling wagon wheels.
Yeah.
So you used to like fight your way to the front and buy these like gigantic wagon wheels, which, like you say now, is like a little saucer.
Well, they're like a little biscuit. When we were kids, they were like a dinner plate with both hands in the gold wrapper. Now they're just like the size of a McVitie's digestive.
That's right.
Tiny.
Yeah. But then they were really
they were
big.
massive, weren't they?
So, you know, this was your staple diet, you know. We'd have that rice and curry. Then we get to the ground, we'd have the bovril. Then you fight your way to the front and get a wagon wheel.
So you knew how to live in those days.
I certainly did. And then, even when you used to go home, you used to get a pie. And we used to call them fresh air pies because you'd bite into all the air would come out.
Right, there was nothing in there, it was just all crust and pastry.
Crust. And you'd have a little bit of maybe meat and potato. Mainly potato, but a little bit of meat, you know. Wow. So, good days.
Before we started this podcast, you were telling me about 2 free tickets to football.
Yeah, as I got older, I got into my 20s. 1976, Manchester United got to the final, the Southampton. When you used to go to the games, you used to get a programme and you used to have a token. So the tokens, how many tokens you would get, would determine if you could get a ticket for the final. So in the 1976, I had enough tokens to buy a ticket. So I remember I went with one of my friends and my friend's dad, and we went to the game and we lost the game. We lost 1-0 against Southampton. The next year, we got to the final against Liverpool. And again, I used to go to every home game. You used to also get tokens in the reserve games. So we used to also go to the reserve games. So at the end of the day, I had something like maybe 30 to 40 tokens. I didn't have enough tokens to actually get a Liverpool ticket. I think it may have been, say, 42 tokens. I had 40 tokens, so I couldn't get a ticket. So me and my friends decided just to go down to Wembley to try and get into the game. So we goes down early morning, we get to Wembley. Everyone's there, you know, with the tickets and people are starting to go into the ground. And we started walking round thinking, how can we get in? Can we climb up the drain pipe, which has been done?
Can we tunnel under? Can we climb over?
Yeah. Can we disguise ourselves as a commentator to go through? We're walking along and we see they were like maintenance gates, and it was where all the lawnmowers come in and the maintenance vehicles, and it was just generally 2 gates with a chain round and a lock. Don't forget, this is 1977, right? So we see these 3 guys, and they've got a small hacksaw, and they're...
No!
So I susses out what they're doing, and I says to my mate, Jimmy, look, they're going to try and get in this
They're
way.
doing the hard work.
Yeah, so we're just watching what happens. So we steps back. Next minute, the lock breaks, falls on the floor, the gates open, they rush through. So we rushes through. There's no stewards around because this is where all the maintenance vehicles come in. So we run down this straight, and then you can see all where the stands are for Wembley. Stewards at the very top, they didn't even realise what had happened. We jumped onto the wall, and I froze myself into the crowd because people were standing there, and I just I had my glasses in, and I put my glasses on, and then just stood there, like, what's happening? Normal. My friend, he went into the seats, which was at the top, so it was like, here I am, I'm here, look, come and get me. So I got away with it by just getting into the crowd where everyone's standing. He went into the seats, and the security found him.
Yeah, they could spot him easily. Oinked him out.
And oinked him out, yeah. So I saw all the game, and we won.
I was going to say, after all that, your team won.
And we won.
That's okay then.
We won 2-1. So that was a great result. That. And then the second time I got in Wembley free. I say free. I didn't have a ticket, and this was when we played Arsenal in 1979. So again, we did the same thing. Me and my mates, there was 4 or 5 of us, gets the car, goes down to Wembley, has a few beers. We met these Barnsley lads, and they had crates of beer. So we're drinking with them and talking to them. And they said, have you got tickets, lads? So we said, no. We know a way to get in the ground free. How? There's a particular gate where all you have to do is put £5 under your hand, put it through to the guy who you pay at the turnstile. Once he touches that money, just leave go. He's got to send you through without a ticket. So that's what we did. So first of all, one of the Barnsley lads led. He did one turnstile, and he said, go to that other turnstile. Went to the other turnstile, put my £5 down like that, like it was a ticket. The man put his hand on it, looked at it, and let me through. So I was in the first part of Wembley. You need 2 stubs. You need a ticket to go in, and then you have a stub on the ticket. That's what the tickets used to be like.
Right, okay.
Right? So then to get through the second barrier, so what we did then is this lad said, right, don't worry. These lads will be coming out, right, who's been in the ground, they're coming out, probably going to the toilet, going for a drink or anything like that. We'll ask them to get a few stubs from their mates inside. That's what we did. The lads came out, go to the toilet. Is there any chance that you could get a stub off your mate so we could get into the second part? So they go back in, get the second stub off their mate, give it to me. I go through, give them the stub back, and I was in the ground.
And when was this? This was in the...
That was 1979.
79, right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
You're coming into the 80s now.
Yeah, we lost that game. But great memories, like of getting into Wembley twice. Okay, once through a broken gate, and another time bribery.
Well, often opens up a lot of doors. Now you're living in Spain.
Yeah.
You obviously don't get that many opportunities to go to football.
No.
So you're watching all the games on TV. Do you go to your local bar?
In the 80s, I was bringing my family up then, so I didn't go to as many games. I always had the passion for Manchester United, and I did probably go to about 6 or 7 games a season. And then, like I say, when I moved to Spain, which was only like 5-6 years ago, I used to follow United on the TV. So I'm an armchair football fan now, but I've still got the same passion as I always have for my team.
Because I think a lot of people will get into the football thing as a child, support that team. You cannot change teams, can you? You're a lifelong supporter.
It's in my blood. It's like a religion. You know, when people say it's a religion, it is like a religion. You know, even if Manchester United, my team, lose, you feel a little bit down. You know, it's not as bad now. You know, first thing I used to think of when I used to wake up is, oh, Manchester United lost. But it is, honestly, it's like being bit by a disease that affects your life.
Yeah, but I guess that's the thing, isn't it? You've grown up with football and you've seen football change, players come and go, the game has changed considerably.
Yeah.
I mean, when you started going as a kid, there were no seats. That has all changed over the years now. Ticketing is a lot more secure now.
Yeah.
Often you buy season ticket. What do you think is the current state of football?
Well, I played football, not to professional standard, but I played football till I was 47. I really enjoyed playing football. I remember in the 80s, you know, it's not just now, I remember in the 80s when I had my family and I was working hard and I get to the odd game and your team doesn't perform and, you know, you're angry because you think, you know, I paid all this money to watch you play and you can't even be bothered to turn up today to either win or at least put a good performance in. For me, players get too much money today. Oh, okay, they're a professional. They probably earn the money, but it's just like they're in a different planet than us now.
I mean, as I said before, you know, I'm not into football at all, but it always interests me when you listen to a commentary saying, you know, these guys just haven't got the stamina and the fitness levels to run about for 90 minutes plus. And I think when we see the amount of money that's bandied around in football for footballers' salaries, they have got the top facilities for training, they've got the nutritionists, they've got the coaches for the psychological thing, you know, they've got the top notch of everything and they can't run around comfortably for 90 minutes. I just think that's poor show. I might be talking complete rubbish and I stand to be corrected, but when you have, in theory, these elite sportsmen with all the, you know, the massage people you've got, the nutritionists, all these experts who are looking at their diet and all these things, and they can't run around for 90 minutes and they're being paid, you know, all this money.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. And to me, someone needs to explain how we can justify those salaries to these, in theory, sportsmen, and they can't run around for 90 minutes. And that is their main job. That's what they do Monday to Friday. And they might play every Saturday or every other Saturday, depending on the football calendar. I just don't understand it.
Well, I mean, recently, they've been playing sometimes like 2 or 3 times a week. You know, football's a lot faster now. It's more technical. I remember when I used to play football, but like say not professional. But I remember playing 3 or 4 times a week. And it's no problem for me. You're talking of elite athletes here. But like say, some of these players get fantastic amounts of money. But when you think how they get that money, a lot of it is sponsorship, isn't it? So, you know, the likes of Coca-Cola or say someone like Ronaldo, you'll probably have about maybe 12 different sponsors that will pay him money to get to the level of earnings. You know, and he would probably say, well, I earn that money because of not just his performance on the field. It gets into that probably standard for people to want to sponsor the guy. But sometimes when they reach that standard, I don't know, they just seem to like come off cruise. It's like cruise control.
Yeah, I think this is it. They get to a certain point and they're earning a good salary, and then, okay, we want you to be the face of our sunglasses. We want you to be the face of our men's grooming. And I think half the time when, you know, I occasionally glimpse a bit of football and they're rolling around on the floor, he's thinking, oh my God, I'm supposed to be doing a modelling job for, you know, some men's grooming product on Monday, and here it is. I've gone and damaged my knee, or my face has got a bit of a scratch on it. And I mean, I know I could be completely talking rubbish and I totally stand to be corrected, but I just think there is so much money sloshing around in football, and I would really love somebody to explain and justify these salaries. These footballers are not saving lives. They're not frontline. They're not ambulance drivers. They're not lifeboat and all these other services that no way does a surgeon earn, in a month what these footballers and I think that is just not. I think we need to take a step back and think, okay, yeah, sport is important, but let's calm down with the money. And there is just so much money floating around in football, and I think that has just totally changed the face of it.
I totally understand, agree with you about the money is totally ridiculous amounts when you think of what their job is, and it's just a footballer. It's like you say, it's not a nurse or someone who saves lives, a policeman, fireman, whatever. Maybe we need to have a reality check, but maybe not just on footballers, sport in general, and maybe celebrities.
So, Steve, your last few comments on football, your team, your memories.
With my memories, they're always there with me. It's like memories just watching my team, being with my friends. Memories that I'll always have, that something happened. And I can actually date a lot of things around football, where I was, where I live. It's like a calendar.
Yeah, but that's actually quite nice, isn't it? That you can, because I went with so-and-so, or this is, we used to have the rice and the curry sauce. I think that's quite nice. You're sort of time stamping your life through football plus the people and the memories. Yeah.
And also, I do that with music. I listen to a piece of music and I think, I used to go to that disco or that music club or whatever through a piece of music. So I can do it with football and music. I can calendar my life through that.
Steve, it's been absolutely brilliant listening through your stories of when you started so young and your family, picking the rosettes. I love the two stories of the free tickets. I think that's very good. That's probably not going to happen now because ticketing to games is very secure now. So yeah. Oh, well, Steve, thanks ever so much for being a guest on the All About You podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
I hope you have enjoyed the conversation. Don't forget, if you have a story you would like to tell, please get in touch. My email address is allaboutyoupodcast@yahoo.com, and thank you for listening.